Hi, I'm Caspar Wijngaard.
I'm Alex Paknadel.
And we're here on Forbidden Planet TV
to talk about All Against All.
Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I am Andrew Sumner, and I am very pleased to be joined on this episode by Caspar Wijngaard and Alex Paknadel. How are you doing,
Hello.
Gents? Very good to see you both.
Thanks for having us on.
Well, thanks for joining me, because this is a conversation I've been very much looking forward to, especially since Alex very kindly sent me a PDF of issue 1, which I very much appreciate. Because we're here to talk about your new image book, your new fantastic image book, All Against All. So, gents, what can you tell me about it?
Well, Alex pitched it to me as imagine Alien, but from the point of view of the alien. Well, so that's not really the best way to say it, but like it's like you're with the aliens and the one human is the xenomorph basically, but he's Tarzan as well, and it's a jungle, in a jungle setting. And I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. It's like the anti-predator, it's like. It was a really cool concept, like a high concept idea that you sold me on straight away. And then obviously it's way more in depth than just that kind of high concept pitch or crossover. But yeah, I don't feel like that's been done before. And when Alex said it, I was like, you know what, that's such an obvious thing to go to, but no one's ever done it, as far as I can tell. So I was like, we should totally do it, because that will be like loads of fun. And it's a challenge as well, and I always like a decent challenge as an artist. So like the idea of like telling this story through the perspective of like an entire race of aliens that you're supposed to care about and follow, and essentially like you're seeing it through their eyes throughout the majority of the story. Is quite a compelling idea, especially from an artist's point of view, to be able to pull off. Alex, sorry, I'm just babbling.
Yeah. Not at all. No. Yeah, I mean, very little to add to that. It's, I mean, in digest, yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. I'd just say it's, imagine Alien if the alien was Tarzan, basically, and all of the kind of crew, and all of the crew were aliens, basically. So in this story, the way we've positioned it, the human is the thing to be feared. The human is the thing that these aliens have like never really encountered before, and is the thing that's going to kind of, swoop out of the sort of out of the ducts and out of the trees and sort of ambush you and sort of tear you apart and stuff. So yeah, it's a sort of total sort of shift in perspective. But yeah, as Caspar was saying, what we're asking readers to do is to sort of identify with and empathize with an alien race that's kind of quite unfamiliar, but has quite similar ambitions and drives to kind of the rest of us. But what's effectively happened is they send out these sort of exploratory parties, and what they do when they find alien to them species is what they do is they basically cannibalize them for traits that they want, because they don't really have any bodies of their own, right? One of the things that Caspar and I sort of discussed earlier on was like, how do we make these things truly alien? So what they have is these sort of imagine them as sort of like squid or jellyfish, but they can basically inhabit other bodies. But their civilization is now at a stage of such advancement that what they can do is they can basically curate, they'll take an arm from here, they'll take, a chest from here, and they'll basically build bodies to inhabit in order, and that's how they sort of proliferate around around the galaxy. But when they come to Earth, they basically encounter all these sort of genotypes and all these species that they've never kind of encountered before, and they don't know how any of it fits together.
Right, yeah, because Earth is absolutely destroyed. They find the seeds of what's left in a vault, so they have no idea how this thing is supposed to work. They don't know the instructions. They can't speak English. They don't understand where any of these things are supposed to go, do they? They just have to and try everything out, which is how you get the, you know, like everything is just thrown into one like biome, you know. So you've got like polar bears fighting gorillas and God knows what. It's cool. Like, it's really cool.
It's such a fascinating concept, and I think that's why your first issue, which by the way is available for order from the links attached to this conversation, really resonated with me so strongly, because I think you've done something. You know, when you hear, oh, okay, it's a new kind of it's a new alien book, and it's a new book about aliens. It's Image publishing it. Often my heart doesn't sink. I'm thinking, oh, hey, I wonder what this is going to be like. But I got the sense with reading issue 1 that you'd really gone to a different place and delivered something different. And I found it fascinating. And you know, finished the first issue, dying to see where you're going to take it all.
Thanks very much. I mean, that really was. I mean, if Caspar, if you don't mind me saying, I mean, that was why Caspar and I have sort of collaborated on this. Way, I mean, I know that there are other kind of creative relationships that work in a similar way, but Caspar had an awful lot of influence over the story, which is something that we discussed very, very early on. And I think also, frankly, you know, Caspar's at a stage in his career now where when he's doing a particular kind of creator-owned collaboration, unless he's got a lot of skin in the game, I don't think he's going to be particularly interested. Sorry to speak for you, mate, but you know.
Well, I mean, I mean, not. Yeah, I mean, like, I like to be involved with what.
Yeah, absolutely. But
big. Yeah, it's like it's weird to do a creator-owned book where everything's laid, you know, it's
just prescriptive. But one of the things that kind of Caspar insisted upon early on, and you know, I think the book is all the better for it, is that it wasn't just going to be. I think, you know, people who like my stuff generally like my stuff because there's some quite sort of considered world building that goes on. But one of the things that we discussed early on was that this has to be propulsive, it has to be visceral, it has to be kind of character and action driven. Otherwise, it's sort of just going to be portraiture. So I think in some respects, you know, don't get me wrong, I like my stuff. But I think this is a lot more kind of kinetic than the work that I usually produce, and I think it's kind of all the better for it. So yes, it's married to, I think, quite a sort of quite an interesting high concept, but not to put too fine a point on it, it's really brutal as well, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it works because of that as well. I think that it's. I mean, it's not brutal in the sense that it's necessarily OTT gore or anything like that. I think it's just more of the sense that you're dealing with a very advanced, but I mean, like, Helpless, our antagonist / protagonist, is a very complicated character, isn't he? He's like a human that was brought up on a terraformed world with possible, you know, like, we haven't really explored his character yet, or like the things that he may have, his traits that he may have picked up through all of the splicing and God knows what that he was built from. But you know, that he's an interesting creature, isn't he? He's like, and he's terrifying, that because he's, at the end of the day, he's a grown-up human child with all of the anger of the aggression and that built-in revenge he's got from issue 1, where he's just doing the most ridiculous things to these aliens when he finds them.
That was something that kind of came up early on, right? Was, I mean, sorry, but you know, we were discussing Tarzan specifically, and one of the things that kind of came up from our that arose from our conversation from those original sort of Tarzan stories is that those Tarzan stories, as brilliant as they are, are built out from quite a sort of arrogant sort of colonial conceit, right? The idea is basically that you could take the newborn child of like an English noble family, and you could just drop it in the jungle, and it would be inherently civilized. It would inherently behave in a civilized manner. And that's nonsense, right? There's nonsense. There's, you know, if you we are you know, I mean, we can't get into the sort of full nature nurture debate, but you know, if you are subjected to unpleasant treatment, chances are you aren't going to behave particularly well. And so, you know, we're going to, if we get an opportunity, we will sort of delve more into kind of the origins of this antagonist character. But for now, we were just sort of thinking, you know, assuming that this child's just been taken out, just dropped into this bizarre, very, very brutal context, and has only been subjected to these appalling kind of harsh conditions. What's going to shake out at the other end of it? And so, yeah, you just get this sort of spectral figure that just just drops out of trees and just kind of rips into things.
Yeah, and just plays with them as well. He's like a cat. He'll take the aliens and he'll just start taking their arms and legs off and playing with them and doing sticking them up and making scarecrows of them because he's a kid. You know, like it's that type of thing that kids would do when they would find, you know, insects or something. They hit them with a stick and stuff. He's that type of creature where it's just. But also with all the menace of a 22-year-old man, I guess, like however old he is, I guess. But yeah, he's just very cool and interesting villain to do, because he is just totally yeah, like you said, he's like a specter, really, isn't he? He's just there like to antagonize them because of what they've done to him. They don't understand him. They just don't understand. All they know from his planet is that they destroyed themselves. You know, like they were that.
So essentially human. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all they know of this race, and they're kind of terrified of them in a way that they just kind of don't want to mess. They never really wanted to mess. But then they just know.
I found it was unleashing a particular emotion in me when I was reading the first issue, and I thought, when have I felt this before? And I'll tell you when it was, and it's possible that nobody's mentioned this correlation to you. It might not have occurred to anybody, and maybe it's just me and my advanced age, right? But when I was reading issue 1, it tapped into an emotion. The last time I felt it was actually years ago when I was a kid reading comics, and I was reading a very different creator and a very different piece of work, but I was reading Jack Kirby's immediate post Fourth World stuff, and it was when he was creating Commandy, and it was when he was creating OMAC, right?
Yeah.
And if you go back to OMAC #1, there's a bunch of imagery that as a kid, I was probably 10 years old at the time, I'd just never seen in comic books before, because there's all this weird assemble your own female robot stuff, and they come packaged in boxes, but in really weird ways, like the head's in the center of the box, the legs are over the top, the arms are underneath. And I thought those two things jammed together, that sense of kind of discombobulation I felt as a kid when I was reading that. I really got that emotion when I was reading All Against All for the first time in a long time. I think it really tweaks something in you when you see those images and you see that playing around with physicality that you do. Oh. Does that make sense?
No, that's cool. That's really cool. I mean, like, that's again one of these things that I really wanted to do coming onto this project anyway with Alex, was it's such there's so much freedom with a project like this, where you're dealing with a species that you're creating from scratch. You know, like we basically created an alien race, and they look and they operate the way me and Alex intend them to. So if something's not working on the page, we can essentially talk it out. We'll have a phone call, and I'll say, you know, like, Alex is like, oh, you know, like she's laying down in a bed and stuff, and I'm saying like, that just doesn't, I can't make that work, you know, like, or, you know, in issue 2, I haven't actually discussed this with Alex, but they're sat around a table, and again, I'm like, would they have a table? I don't know, like, it doesn't really fit into what I've drawn already, so I've created something else, or a PDA thing. I'm like, oh, they wouldn't use a PDA, they'd use like another organism that acts as a PDA that brings something out of it, you know, like a flower, something more organic than having a sheet of paper, because there's nothing in their ship that looks like that. It has to be, you know, like we come to these places in technology from things that we've had before, so their stuff is more organic in a way, and it's built from taking things, and, you know, their ships, for all we know, could be built, they could have one jellyfish in the middle controlling the whole thing. You know, that's what I love about doing a book like this, is there's so much freedom for that we can explore when there's no like technical limitations on what we can build. You know, like the last project I did, you know, we set some parts in Seattle, we set some parts in Portland, and I had to make sure it all made sense. You know, I had to make sure that these characters look right, or the tanks or the helicopters that were coming in. There's so much research that has to be done sometimes on a comic book to make sure some guy doesn't come to you in Twitter and say like, oh, you know, like you're using like a 1994 something Mach 12 aircraft in this one scene, and that was decommissioned this year. They would never have been, you know, like they would never have used this. And I'm like, I don't know, I tried, you know. But in this, it's just like, it's just an alien ship with tentacles coming out of it. No one can come at you over it. They can't tell you it's wrong. So it's so refreshing just coming up with this stuff on the page, like just interpreting, like Alex has written the aliens like they're humans with human technology, and then I can take that and be like, well, this is what I think that they would do with this. You know, it's you know, I can use what I've created from the way that their ship looks and what they look like as characters, and build something fun out of it, which is awesome. Like, it's a really fun way of doing it. As long as it still reads like Alex is telling me to make it look like it should, then it should hopefully come across. But yeah, that's always really fun to do in a comic.
I think what it reads as, for me, you know, as a reader, it's kind of, it's highly entertaining and immersive, but it's kind of thought-provoking speculative fiction all at the same time. I think you guys are walking a very fine line, which you're pulling off, and I think that's what made issue 1 such a satisfying read, and the promise of more to come. It's very interesting hearing you guys talk about your process. How do you tend to actually collaborate on the book? How does it tend to work?
I mean, yeah. I mean, sorry, just very quickly, just to kind of speak to the point that you just made. I was having a conversation with someone about this the other day, but you know, return to the kind of collaborative bit just in a sec. But I think there's a distinction. I really think there's a distinction between escapism and denial, right? I think you can have escapist fiction without being in complete denial of the sort of rough edges of kind of human nature, which is what we're all speaking to, right? You know, whether you're talking about aliens, whether you're talking about the far future, whether you're talking about orcs and elves, you're all really talking about human nature. And there's no reason why that fiction can't offer catharsis, can't offer insight, as well as being, you know, highly entertaining. I don't think there's a distinction between the two. But yeah, sorry, to return to the point about how we collaborate. It's great. I mean, a lot of it's kind of technologically enabled. I mean, I can't imagine us collaborating like this even 20 years ago. It's you know, really, I mean, we talk most days, don't we, really? It's a lot. The good thing is, I think it's a lot more kind of iterative, in the sense that, you know, I mean, I can sort of send over kind of, you know, a tranche of stuff, and there's a kind of immediate kind of back and forth over what that, I mean, you know, as Caspar kind of just explained, you know, there's no sort of slavish adherence to what I've written in sort of terms of panel descriptions, because, you know, it's interesting. I saw a thing a while ago about, you know, there are people who have sort of visual imaginations, and there are people who don't have visual imaginations. And it's not, so some artists don't have visual imaginations, but I mean, certainly, I mean, I know that, like Ram V, for instance, you know, he has like a projector in his head. Okay, so he can see page compositions, and he can see exactly how things look. I don't have that, but you know, I know that there's a hole here, and this needs to go in it, and there are kind of various shorthands that you can use. But the good thing about working with someone like, I mean, to give you an example, Dan Waters, who's obviously worked with Caspar a whole bunch, I was worried initially about the alien issue, because I thought, okay, you've got to walk a real tightrope here, in the sense that aliens, whenever they've been traditionally represented, you generally have two choices, right? You can either really humanize them, which allows for empathy, or, and I'm thinking particularly things like John Carpenter's The Thing, right, where you can make them so alien that they're truly alien, but it's impossible to empathize with them. Now we've got to sit with these characters for 5 issues. You've got to feel for them. You've got to empathize with them. So we could only go so far with the actual design themselves without losing readers entirely. And I remember talking to Dan about it and just said, oh, I'm really worried about this. I feel like I've reached the limits of my sort of representative ability. I don't know how to describe it I don't know how to describe it on the page. And Dan just laughed at me and just went, you're working with Caspar, just honestly, wind him up, let him go, it'll be fine. And it's great. So there's so much there that, as you say, I mean, I don't want to kind of do the whole sort of, forelock tugging sort of self-abasement thing too much, because I think I've written a pretty good script.
No, yeah.
But it's a pure trust fall, and it's one of the, honestly, I mean, in my career, there have been very few instances where I've been able to just sort of close my eyes and sort of fall backwards. But like, I know that it's handled, it's just great. It's great.
I think that's a great thing to hear, and a marvelous point at which to close out. So gents, thank you very much for joining me. We have been talking about Alex and Caspar's All Against All, and which I couldn't recommend highly enough. Again, available for order from the links attached to this conversation. And of course, gents, you're going to be joining us in the store for a signing with the release of issue 1. And I guess the news we can announce here is that you're also Caspar's producing a unique cover for Forbidden Planet.
That's correct, yeah.
Really excited for it.
Which myself and Rob Pontefract, our illustrious head comics buyer, are very, very excited about. So the details for that signing, when they come online, you'll always also be able to find at the base of this interview. And congrats, gents. It really is a lovely book, and I can't wait to see where you go with it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the kind words.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time, guys. I look forward to talking again.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate your time.
Cheerio.
Bye.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.